Hello, the time is just about, wait for it, 8 o'clock. Well, it was just then when I began to say it. I imagine it's a little after that right now. Time is relative, though, isn't it? Important if we, say, have a meeting or a deadline. Less important when it's the weekend. You've got a pineapple in one hand, some luscious memories in the other, and you're watching Dick Van Dyke on some grainy black and white portable television set by a dirty pool filled with washing machines and spittle. Well, what I seem to have done there is digressed a little way and opened the door to my mind. Did you know, for example, in my spare time I like to concoct elaborate theme park-style death rides based on old and ridiculous episodes of the 60s Batman show? I have one with a giant kettle, which I'm particularly proud of, and there's another one I'm thinking about, but I have no idea how I'd keep all those puppies still. Anyway, I apologise. Ow! I'm being poked now by a large sharp-ended stick, being wielded by an enraged studio executive, who is red of face, large of truncheon, and, oh my, appears to be wearing Crocs. That's a bold and interesting choice with a beige safari suit and sou'wester. Ow, stop it! Jumping on then, the time is 8:02, and you're listening to Radio Flange Goblet, home to a preserved GNU in the hallway, enraged executives with an appalling taste in footwear, and the After-Movie Diner, the show which for some redefines monotony and gives them a good excuse to polish their busts to a high shine, but which the Boston Thigh Waxers Gazette calls rather smashing after an exceedingly dangerous head injury and half a bottle of Cinzano. No, it's up, then down, then up, then down, faster, repeat, until, yes. Yes, no, now you see. Hi, hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the After Movie Dine. Absolutely wonderful to be back. Absolutely splendid to be here on the show again. And absolutely wonderful because, yes, we have received a voicemail. Yes, a voicemail. You can reach us on either 347-669-0053 here at After Movie Diner Towers. Really, it's just a room. Or you could equally go to SpeakPipe, www.speakpipe.com/aftermoviediner. We're going to play the voicemail, then we're going to play the trailer of the movie that we're discussing this week, and then we're going to start the show. No beating around the bush this time. Well, apart from everything I just did. Voicemail, we've received a voicemail. Everyone go crazy cause someone's called the show. Yes, voicemail, don't you know?
Hello, John. Matt Beckett here. Many thanks for the recent episode on Luc Besson and the slate of films from his company EuropaCorp. You were absolutely right with what you said on the show. EuropaCorp holds the torch for the medium-budget action movie, and they seem to have done that from even before day one. I'd like to recommend one film from the fine folks at ARP, but which, because of its many qualities, might be considered to be the father of all EuropaCorp productions. That film's the original French-language Taxi. From a purely action perspective, no other film comes close in terms of capturing the kinetics of the high-speed car chase. Director Gerard Pires' bumper-level camera work and his emphasis on breathless practical stunts reaches a standard that hasn't been surpassed. And the setting of the chases in the busy city centre and narrow alleys of Marseille mean that the filmmakers understand that a great chase is not simply about the cars, but also the environment that they're in. And then later you mentioned that you prefer the more recent Kevin Costner, where he plays characters with a bit of an edge, rather than some of his early movies where he has a reputation for being a bit earnest. But some of Costner's earliest movies, however, show that it hasn't always been that way. For instance, the movie Fandango. In that film, Costner's character is by turns brash and charming, arrogant and admirable, infuriating and endearing, and it's without a doubt in my top couple of favourite roles for Costner, and it has a lot of edge to savour. Oh, and one final thing, it's been wonderful in these last few months to hear the diner on location. The atmosphere behind you, coupled with the wonderful Mr. Jim Wallace's vocal appreciations of his blue cheeseburger this last week, has meant that I'm looking forward to seeing what's on the special board for discussion at the diner next week. With an order of brown gravy for the fries, of course. Thanks again, John.
Voicemail, we all just heard a voicemail. Please call the show and I will play it with a jingle just before. Oh, voicemails more and more. And you can rate that jingle and others you hear on the show over at ratemyjingle.com, a new website which proves to be very exciting indeed. It's a bit like Hot or Not, only much sexier and for jingles. So please go over to ratemyjingle.com and rate that or any other jingles you've heard on the show. I'd like to say also a big thank you to Matt Beckett for that wonderful voicemail, so professionally, clearly, and humorously delivered. One would believe you were a professional voicemail recorderist or something, if that even exists. On looking up the movie Fandango, mentioned in said voicemail, starring Kevin Costner, I noticed it co-starred none other than Judd Nelson, and therefore I had to see the movie immediately. I have therefore put out some midget scouts who are currently furrowing up and down the highways and byways of this great land and also of the interwebs to try and find said movie so that I can, well, put my peepers all over it in the vernacular of my father. So, thank you ever so much, Matt, for sending in that voicemail. Please do continue to listen to the show, and I hope you feel satisfactorily congratulated for being someone who bothered to do something for us. So thank you very much, sir, and please do come back. And now, the trailer for this week's film, The Bag Man.
I have a job. It's more than a job. It's a life changer. This is me. This is you. This is the money. This is the bag. Go and get the bag. Bring this bag to me. I give you the money. Clear?
Can I ask you a question? Why don't you just hire FedEx?
Because, Jack, I trust you.
Okay.
There's a motel in the middle of nowhere. You check into room 13.
You're gonna be in room number 6. You'll be in room number 13.
You're gonna have some play dates with the locals to pull this off.
Let me ask you a question. I'm looking for a girl, a tall girl, walk around looking like Wonder Woman.
No, I didn't see anybody.
Please, I can't go out there. They're gonna kill me.
You think I'm stupid? Who do you work for?
So, you're not a superhero?
Jack, you know something? I don't like surprises. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate the unexpected, but I don't like surprises.
Did you look inside this bag?
2 men and a girl were staying in room 10. We found the 2 men down the road. Very dead.
Do you understand the distinction I'm making here?
Bag, Mr. Smith. Where is it?
Jack, sometimes you disappoint me. You have a weapons proficient stripper sitting here in the middle of our business.
She's not part of this.
Oh, yes, she is. Trust, foundation of friendship.
Your man tried to whack me.
Jack, calm down.
I need my money right now.
Who do you think you're talking to? You don't talk to me, I talk to you.
Guns, bodies, some weapons now.
You do not look in this bag. You do not open this bag. Death is inside that bag.
You're an idiot, you know that?
You think?
Hello and welcome to yet another After Movie Diner episode, and we have just been to see the second in a succession of John Cusack, more or less straight-to-video B-movies.
Yeah.
This one called The Bag Man. You remember that Jim and I, last time we sat together, we covered Grand Piano.
And now it's Bag Man.
And now it's The Bag Man.
This is John Cusack's 2-word titles.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that Grand Piano, having read up on it since we did the episode and saw
Showing
the
in a
film,
very chic, floofy cinema in the village.
Yeah, and not
with
only
lots
that,
of village voice, strokey beard.
not only that, but did you know that they had an evening with Elijah Wood and the director at the Lincoln Center, which is all very
At last.
Yeah.
At last.
yeah, pipe
I
smoking.
can't
and
believe we missed that.
chin
That we couldn't
smoking.
say, That didn't really work, did it?
Yeah, but so
Questions?
we saw that movie, and you've heard the result of what we felt about that film.
Yes.
And now we're going to see The Bagman, which was atrociously reviewed and got
we did not have high hopes.
No, had no high
for
hopes at all.
Bagman. For starters, because Robert De Niro is in it, and that's usually the kiss of death.
Yeah,
these days.
Yeah. I mean, the last two movies he's done, one was The Killing Season with a ridiculously bearded John Travolta.
I couldn't even be bothered with that.
And the other one was The Family, which I have now and I want to watch.
Oh, because it's Besson, right?
It's a Besson one.
That kind of intrigued me because it was a Besson movie.
And it's him and Michelle Pfeiffer, which I haven't seen, but I will see and I will report back.
Okay.
However, this one, John Cusack, Robert De Niro, some woman we've never heard of, and Crispin Glover.
Yeah.
Also, the guy who played the sheriff I recognised, he was in Killer Elite.
Oh, okay.
He was in Killer Elite.
He was also in Prison Break as the brother that had to be broken out of prison.
Fair enough. And
he was, and I want to say this very quickly, he was rubbish in Prison Break. He was really good at this.
He was really good in Killer Elite.
Yeah.
Is he Australian?
I don't know. Maybe.
I think he is because he plays.
He looks Australian.
He plays an Aussie in Killer Elite.
Oh yeah, he does. He looks exceptionally Australian.
And of course, De Niro was in Killer Elite, so I don't know if they.
Oh. Yeah.
I don't know if they know each other now. Anyway.
Yeah.
What's interesting is it was terribly reviewed. It got none of the art house plaudits that Grand Piano did.
We saw
no words like Hitchcockian or engrossing thriller or anything like that.
But the best example could be that we saw it in a very swoopy Swiss cinema in the village, Grand Piano, and this one we had to climb right to the top of cinema number 23.
Yeah, out of 25 at the AMC. The other two, by the way, 24 and 25, were both showing like Bollywood movies.
That's right, yeah. And we were joined about 3/4 way through the movie by a tramp, and then about 10 minutes later another tramp came in.
I don't know if they were tramps or just guys who were wandering about.
No,
the
I
top
think they were
echelons
both. Well, the first one was definitely a tramp because I think he had a pile of stuff.
Right.
And the second one, I think, was just homeless.
A mad guy.
Yeah, who possibly spent his whole day walking from screen to screen.
And not only that, but when we came out of the theatre or cinema, there were like 3 cops at the bottom with like large automatic weapons.
Yeah, like just shooting the breeze. And as we speak right now, at a table just behind us are 7 or 8 policemen sitting around the table. There's 3 cars parked outside. And now either there's something going on, or possibly it's raining and they don't like to get wet.
I don't know, but either way, we are in the Market Diner on 11th Avenue.
We are. I still haven't figured out what I want yet.
43rd Street. We've been here before. What were we here for? Was it the Colony? No, Stranded.
Yes, it was Stranded.
We were here before.
Yes, it was Stranded, yeah. So we have been here before. I think I'm going to get... Oh, I might get...
But yes, so the interesting thing is like we've been saying, Grand Piano very well reviewed. We liked it, but we didn't particularly get the big whoops about it.
Well, I'm not sure it was like a big one. I think our theory was it didn't really work. We left feeling unsatisfied.
Right. Whereas this movie, which again we have to reiterate has been reviewed terribly, we both really enjoyed.
Yeah, we thought it was terrific.
Like, I don't mean to bury the lead, but we really
we thought it was great. I mean, we
enjoyed it.
I'm not sure when I...
It had a terrific script.
It did have a great script.
Not necessarily in terms of like plot or pacing, but the dialogue was excellent.
Weirdly, like parts of it was a bit cheesy, but even the cheesy bits were fine.
The worst scene in it was when he initially picked her up and tried to drive her to the bus station, and she was asking lots of questions.
That wasn't very well.
That was really bad. Yeah. Apart from that, though.
Yeah, agreed.
Really
agreed.
So why don't you run down the plot while I look?
Oh yeah, okay, right. So the plot is John Cusack is hired by Robert De Niro, and it's very important. While they're having this conversation, they're both wearing absolutely ridiculous glasses.
In fact,
for no reason.
But did you notice that throughout the first half of the movie, everyone had ridiculous glasses?
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah. This means something, but we don't know what.
It doesn't matter.
Anyway.
The sheriff had glasses. The woman who came into his office, the blonde woman who...
Yeah, she had crazy glasses.
Because she got big glasses out and then he took them off her.
That's right.
But she had like big, like Ronnie Barker type glasses.
Yeah, it's very strange. Anyway, so
De Niro had mad hair. It was awesome.
And mad glasses.
His mad hair was...
So Robert De Niro,
fantastic.
it's very simple plot. Robert De Niro and John Cusack are on a plane and they're having a meeting.
Yeah.
And Robert De Niro is going to pay John Cusack a vast quantity of money to pick up a bag. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pays him a vast quantity of money to pick up a bag and hold it for him until Robert De Niro comes and gets it. But the key point is he must not look in the bag. Very, very important. He'll get paid a lot of money if he keeps the bag safe and he does not look in it. That is the only condition. Do not look in the bag. So, the moment I knew that I liked the film was when he...
I liked it from
I knew I was going to like it when after that he drives up and we've missed him picking up the bag. And he has trouble getting to the phone booth, and there's like a windy road behind him, and the moon's like high in the sky.
It's set in Louisiana.
Yeah, Louisiana, right? And the moon's high in the sky, and he's trying to get into this old phone booth.
He's got like
can't
a
open the
shitty
door.
tourist Memphis baseball cap on.
Right, and it's already clear that
he's been through hell already.
Yeah, something's gone wrong, and we haven't even seen that. And the whole film is basically him trying to stop everybody else in this tiny little like one-horse town from getting their hands on the bag.
Hence the bag man.
And that's basically the plot.
Yeah,
that was pretty good, right? I kept that pretty brief.
I like that. I think you could do that again and again, and I'd be happy.
Yeah, I'm trying to be more brief.
No, that was exactly it. And when he gets to the motel, you meet the incredibly cool Crispin Glover character who's playing this kind
Which is when I knew, okay, this might be really good.
No, it might be really,
the
really
scene
good.
with those two was so well written and really funny.
But I tell you what it was. It was a combination of, I don't imagine reading the script.
A lot of those
lines particularly dynamic.
Agreed,
But the way... Okay, first of all, this is the best Cusack's been in ages. And Crispin Glover
He looks like Cusack is like an old, broken Martin Blank. Like he's got that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He's got the same kind of, I don't really know what's going on here, but I'm going to have to roll with it kind of expression. But as the longer the movie goes on, the more you feel like that he's a little bit broken, even if it's just like broken-hearted. But there's something in the middle of all this.
Yeah, no, because
he's not a stone cold killer.
The funny thing is, in Grosse Pointe Blank and War Inc. and this, he plays very, very similar characters. You know, they're all hitmen. They're all like wear a black suit. You know, by the way, all the Cusack cliches were still there. He still looks bonkers. He still has the mad hair. He still wore a black suit.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're probably wondering, but is he wearing a black suit?
Yes. A baseball cap.
Yeah.
But there was check. Yeah. But acting-wise, it was the best he's been in a long time.
There was a world weariness to it. It
worked really well.
Worked really, really well.
Really well. And De Niro was really good in it as well.
He was terrific. What are you? Okay.
I think I'm going to go for the grilled chicken club.
I'm going to go for the grilled chicken supreme.
I was thinking about that.
That's my vote on that one, I think, and a cup of coffee. That's my vote.
Grilled chicken supreme.
It's kind of fun being in here because it's quite clear that the cops are out of the rain. Some UPS guys just walked in to come out of the rain. Like everybody's in here to come out of the rain because it's been like really nice weather for the past week, and all of a sudden out of nowhere there's this big rainstorm and it's going to get cold tonight. And you feel like everybody's coming in to warm up, and we're in here too. It's just really nice.
So why is the grilled chicken supreme
cheaper
than the chicken?
I don't know. Maybe you get more on the chicken club. Isn't a club like triple decker usually?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I imagine you probably get more. That's why it's more.
2 grilled chicken supremes then, and 1 thing of fries. Okay,
great. So Robert De Niro was amazing, and as you pointed out, was channeling. Hey,
yes.
We get 2 chicken soup. Grilled chicken supremes.
Grilled chicken?
Yeah, the grilled chicken supreme.
The sandwiches, the speciality sandwiches.
2 of those ones.
Chicken supreme.
Yeah.
2 of those and 1 thing of fries, please.
Okay. And can I get a cup of coffee?
The drink? Oh no, I'm good with water. Thanks.
Thanks very much, man. Cheers.
So yeah, I felt in certain areas that De Niro, I think especially with the hair,
yes,
but
and the glasses,
that he was channeling Dustin Hoffman.
It did feel it, and there was a certain lightness to what he was doing.
Oh, there was very light. It was really light. What I liked was
he was having a lot of fun.
It had the vibe of the Larry Cohen movie in the sense that, which is interesting because so did Grand Piano, but it had the vibe in Larry Cohen in a different way in terms of here's a setup, here's how it's going to play out. However, everyone in the film, everyone had a character. Everyone.
That's true.
Everyone
I even bought her.
Everyone who
what was
spoke
nice was
had
she
a
was.
character.
I tell you what was nice about the character of the woman, and she turns up.
I have to say, it's a fairly misogynist movie.
It's incredibly misogynist. There was a lot of things in it I didn't like, but then I thought I did think because there was like a couple of scenes I was like.
It
nearly lost me with De Niro and the woman in the office. It very nearly lost me.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
I get that he's like a cruel bastard, and that him being all light and funny and weird is entertaining. But we can't let it be forgotten that
he's the head of a big crime.
Right, but he's a mean man with a lot of money.
No, there was a lot of.
But I do feel like at the end of the movie, when De Niro says, that refers to this woman as that whore, and Cusack says she's not a whore. Terry says, all women are whores. And there's a pause, and Cusack goes, no. And not in a no, they're not, just don't be an arse.
Right. Yeah.
And I feel like what was really nice about it is, in order for the film to work, right, you have to buy the fact that Cusack wouldn't be suspicious of this woman.
Well, he is suspicious throughout the movie, but
he is suspicious, but not suspicious enough. Not get out or I'm just going to shoot you in the head, because it becomes apparent pretty quickly that Cusack has no problem with shooting people in the head. So why not this woman? And it's so in order to buy, you have to believe that he's a bit of a soft Nelly.
No, but there's also
you know what I mean?
But there's also a reason for it.
No, of course.
There's a backstory to Cusack that comes out throughout the movie.
But that's what I'm saying. Over the course of the movie, it becomes more and more apparent that actually the reason his character works, the reason his actions throughout the whole movie actually makes sense. The more the movie goes on, as opposed to the more that goes on, the less things make sense. The more it makes sense is because his character is being contrasted with the rest of these misogynistic, cruel fucks.
Right.
That in order for you to not only buy the fact
that everyone else in the movie is a misogynistic fuck.
The fact that he's not, that he is a bit of a soft Nelly, a bit of a soft touch, which turns out to be, again, in a nice way, sort of why the whole the best thing about this whole script is all the bits of it that are a bit generic and a bit where you're sitting there going, well, I'd probably do this, or why don't you do that? It all makes more and more sense the more the movie goes on, the more you get drawn into it. And so by the end, you feel like that all completely tied together. It all completely made sense. Yeah. I really feel like the characters actually went on a proper journey.
Right. All the problems that Grand Piano had in terms of, we have this MacGuffin, let's just call it that.
Right.
We have this MacGuffin, and the MacGuffin's got to mean something by the end of it. Yeah. But ultimately, we felt in Grand Piano it didn't satisfactorily, because halfway through, when you find out what the MacGuffin is, everything flies out the window.
Exactly.
In this movie, obviously, with the whole don't look in the bag, and we're not spoiling anything because that's the beginning of the movie. Right. Obviously, with the whole don't look at the bag, the thing that's driving the movie is what's in the bag. But also, ultimately, at the end of it, what's in the bag is more important to the characters. Yeah. Rather than some big plot.
Yeah, what was so cool is because the thing is, there was definitely a Tarantino-esque vibe all the way through. Not necessarily a Tarantino-esque vibe, but more those movies back in the 90s that used to be described as Tarantino-esque, but weren't really. They were just kind of
they just were crime thrillers that happened to come
grimy,
out
funny
they were crime
thrillers
that came out on the back of Reservoir Dogs.
Grimy, funny crime thrillers.
Right.
And that's the whole film felt like that. It felt like one of those movies that we used to rent on VHS when we were teenagers.
Well, we were saying things to do in Denver when you're dead,
U-turn, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but what was nice was again, we're not going to talk about it too much, but I was convinced, what's going to be in the bag? If we see it, maybe we'll see the expression on his face, or there'll be a light shining at the briefcase. Oh, how clever!
Right.
But he doesn't tell us. But actually, it's not clever. It's just it would be in these things that's frustrating. Yeah. The fact that what ends up being in the bag ties the entire film together is a narrative feat not to be sniffed at.
No.
In my opinion.
And in fact, what I decided going in, or what I decided once he set up the plot on the plane at the beginning, was I'm not going to care. It won't. Once I saw the scene...
I agree.
Once I saw the scene with Crispin Glover, and John Cusack. The only reason I was along for the ride was to see more amazing two-handers with people. Cusack's expressions when a variety of mad, because it turns out there's a variety of mad people at the motel. Like there's a midget and there's like a gangster with an eye patch.
It's like it seems to be like by the end of it anyway, it becomes apparent it's a very small town filled, it seems, exclusively with like bad people.
But like there was a conscious stylistic effort, right, to make everything just a little comedic is the wrong word, but a little off, just a little whatever.
Yeah.
So like
I know what you mean.
Crispin Glover was both weird and menacing, but also like kind of funny and kind of odd and kind of broken as well.
Yeah.
And then you had like the two bickering gangsters who may or may not have something to do with the woman, one of whom had like a lizard eye patch and one of whom was a midget in a blue tracksuit.
Yeah, we're going to. What was so cool about the whole movie was everybody's motives were unclear, even Cusack.
Right.
So you're right. The bag becomes almost like as you watch the movie, the bag is
completely
sort of irrelevant.
obsolete,
Because the main question is what's going on,
right?
And what do all these people want? Because they all want something.
Yeah.
It's not one of those movies where the reason the whole Tarantino-esque thing died, where you got like a whole bunch of characters and they go, well, we have spurious reasons for all getting involved in this like ensemble full of half-forgotten B-movie actors in lots of like arch dialogue. You know what I mean?
Right.
There was none of that. There was no everything you really cared about because you didn't know what they wanted.
What I have to point out here, I completely understand why a critic goes into this movie and doesn't like it.
Right.
Okay, because a critic goes, oh, well, that's a cliche. The fizzing neon outside the windows of a broken down motel.
So cool.
I know. I'm just saying, the Russian midget and the even down to the fact that at a certain point, Crispin Glover says, don't touch my wheelchair, that belonged to my dead mother, like a sort of Norman Bates nod. And the fact that everything was very stylized, and the fact that the hooker woman, or the woman who appeared to be a hooker, was dressed something like Wonder Woman kind of thing with the gold pants and the red basque and so on. Like, most critics would look at that and go, ugh, and just feel like annoyed by the fact that there was too many cliches that they had to wade through. But the whole reason the movie is enjoyable, and the whole thing that a lot of movies that try and do film noirs or do B movies or do grindhouse movies or do crime movies or whatever it is, but miss the point, is that all the cliches were there for, and were acted well and were done well for seemingly for all the right reasons. Like none of it, you accepted it wasn't real. It wasn't like gritty realism. You accepted you were in a stylized film noir crime thriller from the get-go.
Yeah.
No one in it is believable in terms of
hence maybe the glasses.
real life. No, that's what I'm saying. The glasses are a definite stylistic choice.
Right. But sorry, just very quickly. I'm wondering whether everything you're talking about, which is very true, whether a really quick way of getting people into that mood is you put a pair of very silly 70s glasses on De Niro and Cusack in the opening scene. Nobody's going to buy this being like gritty, but like, okay, we're watching a stylized crime thriller here, and you're away.
But that's it, and that's
right.
I got into that mood very, very quickly. But the reason why I bring it up is we really thoroughly enjoyed it because it was entertaining and it was well written and it was well. But it's not like groundbreaking. It's not like
well, it is for Cusack because it's
for because it's great. But it's not one of those where if you watch it with too high expectations, or you watch it with some understanding that it's some great feat of filmmaking, you'll probably miss the point.
Yeah, agreed.
You need to watch it like it's a odd rental, one evening. In the 90s, you've gone into your local video store and you've scoured the shelves and you've gone, seen it, wait, what is this mad thriller with Cusack and De Niro? Oh, that'll do. And you put it on and you're really surprised by it.
Yeah.
That is exactly what this film is.
Yes.
Now, it's stylized all to hell, and, you know, there are some...
But it's not... Wait, I should point out that it's not overly stylized at all. Not like parts of Grand Piano, for example, were overly stylized in order to call out, hey, look at me, I'm being a bit like Hitchcock. This was, as you're saying, stylized in order to evoke mood. Like, that was the point.
Also, all the cliches in it, I felt, because we laughed at them, and not laughed at them, but laughed sort of with them in terms of recognition.
Like, like when you listen to an Elvis song, he's being really cool and you laugh because he's just being so cool.
Yeah. It was very much like, so when De Niro, there's an amazing bit where De Niro's in his office and you know that there's a problem. Like, you know that he has a problem with the person he's talking to. But halfway through his incredible eloquent diatribe about this problem, he's like, you'd think I'd have a pad in this office.
Yeah.
Right? Or a notepad in this office. And the way he did it, and the fact that he's standing in this incredibly obvious, ornate gangster's office is hilarious.
Yeah.
It would be...
Great, thank you very much. Can I get my coffee, mate? Thank you very much, cheers.
Thank you.
Wow, this looks great. Wow, this is amazing.
And that's what I mean. The humour came from the fact that you were aware of the cliches and what was going on. Like, if you weren't aware of that, maybe the humour wouldn't have hit as hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was more like...
You know what I'm trying to say, though?
Yeah, I know what you're trying to say. I feel like at the moment we're giving it, like, maybe we're not giving it its due. It wasn't packed full of cliches, like, at all. It was more like tropes of the genre and things that maybe we'd seen before, but they were well handled. They were there to evoke a mood, a kind of a swampy, lonely.
It definitely had
desperation.
That. It definitely had that.
And like what I was talking about when I knew I was going to like it, a character driving up in the middle of the night with a beaten up car, getting out and trying to open and having trouble opening the door of a phone booth. I'm sure I've seen that before, but it was like, I can't quite explain the feeling. It was like a welcome return to that kind of, like, I haven't seen a film like that
right.
for such a long time. Certainly not that's done well.
Right.
You know, a crime thriller like that, where you are dumped in the middle of it halfway through, and it does have these, like, I don't know. I mean, I know what you mean about the cliches, but I feel like that's like saying that everything's signposted, and it's not.
No, nothing was. I never knew what was going to happen.
No,
next.
I
don't mean that at all. I mean that when. What I really mean to say is that I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And the reason why I enjoyed it was a combination of good writing, great acting, acting that far rises above, unfortunately, the audience this movie is going to get. And a director that just went, well, it's got to be some steezy motel in the middle of nowhere with buzzing neon and you know, crazy neighbors.
Yeah, there was some there were nice little touches within it. It didn't need to have, like you're saying about Crispin Glover, he didn't need to act that way. He could have played it straight, or he could have played it like menacing and weird, and that would have been. See, that's my point. Take the motel out, right?
Right.
In a cliche world, he'd be like fat and sweaty and weird and menacing, and everything would be over the top, and all the jokes would be signposted. But what was funny about Crispin Glover was he wasn't making jokes. He was actually being friendly, but in a weirdly inappropriate way.
Right.
Like, it was obvious that Cusack was trouble. It was obvious that he didn't want to talk, and this guy was being friendly, but he was a very weird. It was obvious that he was a very weird guy.
But I also like that he chose. Although obviously Cusack was giving him $500, when Cusack wanted his phone turned on, Glover was asking him for a credit card because he needed to take an imprint of the credit card, as clearly that was the policy of the motel. And the fact that I never felt like Glover was greedy for the money. He was just a stickler for whatever the rules were. And it really took $500 for him to stop being a stickler rather than
he wasn't.
I'm greedy for the money.
Yeah. Rather than it being a hustle.
Right.
You're right. And the whole film was full of little touches like that. And the fact that the way the Cusack didn't soften as the film went on. It was more like he became more desperate.
Right.
And the more desperate he became, the more human he became. Like the less I'm a cool, killer in charge of this situation, rang true. Which it started to become I'm a desperate man, a hostage to I'm a hostage to my fortune.
He was never in charge of the situation.
Right. Well,
from day one, when he went to get the bag initially, we don't see this, but when he went to get the bag initially, whoever Niro's guy was,
shoots his phone.
Shot his phone and shot a hole in his hand.
His phone out of his hand. Which I'm guessing now that I look back on it, it was definitely a deliberate choice. Because of course every film, has how would this work if they'd had mobiles then?
Right.
So you start off this whole throwback film with he's had his mobile shot out of his hand.
Right, and he has to pay $500 with the dead guy's money, which he took out of the dead guy's wallet.
I forgot.
He had to pay. That's how he had the cash to give him the cash for the motel.
That was a nice touch. That was a nice touch.
It all added up.
Well, lots of nice touches like that. The whole film was bolted to a solid premise that became more involving as it went on. But everything had a nice touch to it. There was a light touch. It wasn't. The whole thing felt like, why don't we give this a try? And it worked.
Right.
And I can't imagine they had a lot of time. Maybe they had a lot of time with Cusack in the motel, but.
So what I mean is it felt like Cusack, Glover, and De Niro, in particular, came to it with a kind of, well, I'm just gonna have fun. I'm just gonna play the hell out of this, and it's the most. People can talk about Midnight Run and people can talk about Meet the Fockers and sort of other comedy, but it's the most fun I've seen De Niro have with a role since Brazil.
Yeah.
The most fun I've seen him have with a role since Brazil.
I would agree with that.
It's a very Brazil term.
It is, yeah.
In terms of him being, slightly weird.
Yeah,
and
it's just like if I'm going
to
to turn up in these films in little cameo roles, then I'm at least going to enjoy it.
Uh-huh.
I'm at least going to enjoy this movie. No, you're right. That's a really good way of putting it.
It's seriously the most fun he's had with anything since Brazil.
Mm-hmm. It was a seriously fun throwback movie.
In fact, if anything, I felt the couple of occasions of kind of squeamish ultra-violence a little over the top. That was the one complaint I had with it.
There was some misogynistic ultra-violence that didn't need to be there. I get why it was there because I think
the running gag with his hand was hilarious, but the violence towards her was a little over the top.
In order to make Cusack's character not only believable but redeemable, had to set up how he treated her versus how everybody else treated her, and how De Niro treated the other women in the other scene. But although that's fine and that's great, they were uncomfortable to watch. Those scenes.
No, they were.
I really didn't like them at all, and it very, very nearly lost me completely.
Yeah.
In that De Niro and the women scene, because I thought there's other ways you could have played this that didn't have to come down to that.
Yeah, I mean certainly that scene, but then likewise when the gangster lizard, already had her under his submission, he didn't really need to throw her head down on top of the car as well. That was one. Knock too far. I mean, she did gangbusters in the role. She did really, really well. Fair play to her, considering how much she had to go through. The fact that most of the movie she's not wearing a great deal.
No.
And every time you think, oh, finally she's managed to take a breather, put some clothes back on, and feel normal again.
It was a bit too much of that. But I understand why it had to be there. And then, in those movies from the 90s, women, they do treat women like shit in those films. But yeah, it was uncomfortable watching some of those things. I didn't really like them. But it did make his character...
No, because at the end of the movie, it makes complete sense. I'm not going to spoil it, but...
Yeah, in fact, they do manage to... not the first woman, But then they do go very far, like even...
In order for the very last scene to work, all that had to have happened.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, agreed. No. And
because if she was the woman...
Yeah.
That we find out she clearly started off as, you wouldn't believe the ending. That lovely ending that it had.
True. Yeah, okay.
They had to have both, what I'm trying to say is, Cusack and her had to have both gone through so much crap that by the end of that night, what was their lives and what will be their lives are now two completely different things. If they don't go through that, the ending has no
I hadn't
payoff.
put that together actually. Yeah, this is why, and I'll be honest. Bearing in mind, this is a John Cusack straight-to-video B movie that I just saw in Cinema 23, at the top of Times Square with a tramp and a couple of people who hated it so much that one of them yawned and the other one left.
The guy who yawned really annoyed me because you can yawn quietly.
Of course
you don't have to go
ostentatious
like
knobber.
some mad knobber, right?
But as soon as it was over, I thought I really want to watch that again. I want to watch that again, knowing what I know now about their characters, because I think that would be really interesting. I think it would hold up, like Usual Suspects does. It actually holds up after you know what's really going on, because it makes it more interesting.
Right, completely.
But what I was going to say about the scene between De Niro and the women in the office, even after that, which no doubt is uncomfortable to watch, she clearly did make a huge fucking mistake.
Right.
And after he's finished, he does basically give her a shitload of money.
And tell her to go to New York.
And tell her to get it fixed.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So it's horrible to watch, like really horrible and nasty. But yeah, it's complicated because I think it had to be put in there. It's put in there for a reason, but it's not a nice view. But you're right. Without them going through, I hadn't even put that together. But you're right. Without them going through all the shit they go through, it makes no sense. The ending.
Right.
But it makes perfect sense after everything
because the
that has
ending
happened.
is different if she's if she breezes through the evening. The ending is different.
Because you're like, why is she?
Right. So anyway, what we're going to do now is we're going to stop there.
And
if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And then from this moment on, we're going to talk about all the bits we can talk about spoiling stuff. Because I want to talk more about it.
Yeah?
Yeah. So go see it. If you haven't seen it, go see it or rent it or whatever.
Definitely rent it and go see it.
Redbox it or whatever.
And press stop now.
We have come to the part in the show where we're going to spoil the film. So if you don't want to know what happens in the end, switch off now. There are important character moments I would like to discuss that are tied up with the ending of the film. And so if you intend to view the film, then please turn off now. But maybe you are one of those kinds of people who don't care. You might not care. And if you're that kind of person, and you'll enjoy the film no matter what you know, then keep listening, 'cause from this point in the show, I might have to spoil the film for you. Oh, but maybe you don't see it as really spoiling it, just giving you more information. And if that's the case, then be my guest, keep on listening. The second half of the show is better than the first. Or maybe it's the same, who knows? Who cares? Why am I still singing? Why are you still listening? What's going on? Who really knows? I don't know. Do you? Does Brian Brown, the one from Cocktail and FX, maybe he knows. He's not in this film, by the way.
So, just to flesh out what I was saying.
Right.
The whole movie, as far as De Niro's character is concerned, is all about like this mad test trust.
Because there's a job where
yeah.
he needs
Right.
absolute trust.
And she was someone in his employ, like possibly even a romantic involvement at some point. But she was a trusted member of his employ.
They were holding hands the whole time in that scene.
So, if she feels halfway through forsaken by him and these people who are supposedly in his pocket, that's what I'm talking about.
Also,
do you know what I mean?
No, I do. You know what? I've only just figured out too, or realised, all that art that him and her are walking around looking at, just tons and tons of pictures of naked women. That's all they're looking at. Paintings of naked women, sculptures of naked women. It's all naked women that they're looking at.
Right.
And I think the idea is that he's a bit of a sleaze, obviously, and a bit of a, and also that he objectifies women and holds them in no regard.
Right.
Thinks them to be all, as he says, in the end of the film, to be whores. Again, it not only sets up Cusack's big soft Nelliness as if not believable, then admirable. And the best thing you can do, and this is another reason why it's such a great film. The best thing you can do, if you think, I don't think I can make people necessarily believe this, but you can say, I'm going to make them like him, and then they'll buy it.
Right.
They'll buy it because they like him.
It's the most likable Cusack's been in ages.
Well, only the more the film goes on.
Yeah.
Initially, I don't know what to make of Cusack. Well, is he a bad guy? Because he does some pretty fucking horrible things.
But he was being amazing.
He was being really.
Like, there was sometimes he'd be being asked lots of questions by an annoying character or whatever, and there would be no clever comeback. It was all just done in his face.
No, he did that thing that I haven't seen him do since Grosse Pointe Blank, where he does that without moving a muscle in his face or blinking or anything. He looked at somebody and goes, "Are you fucking serious?
Yeah, are you for real? Right?
Is this really happening?" And then replies. But there's this pause that only Cusack does, where he is able to go without moving a muscle. Are you serious?
Yeah.
And that was all. You're right. That was all over the place.
And the fact that he didn't have a problem being goofy at certain points. I forget what it is, but there was a great bit where he got into the car, and for a minute just had his hang jaw with his mouth open,
he was very
looking absolutely just make this night finish.
Yeah. And when he hits the guy with the spade and twirls away, with his hand, that was really good. There was lots of things like that. You're right. We've seen them all before, but
this is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, wants to stop her killing Cusack at the end and getting the money. You know what I mean? The thing that stops her is the treatment she's received throughout the film.
Agreed.
Because they are two...
No, what's to stop her? Because presumably, either A, she didn't look in the bag, or B, she already knew what was in the bag. So... I like that
Maybe she didn't know what was in the bag. She was only told in that scene that we saw to go down there and
That's
test
true.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, she may have got down there.
Or maybe she did look in the bag.
No, I think she looked in the bag. Yeah.
And that's what changed her mind. But that was the first thing that started her thinking, I'm not sure I want to do this.
Well, I think the sheriff's department probably would have changed her mind as well.
True, but if she'd looked in the bag before then, given what was in the bag.
That's why maybe she comes back to the sheriff's office to save him in the first place.
Right.
Yeah. The sheriff's office scene, I hated. I thought it was really...
It was really nasty, except for the bit where she sees him hanging out.
Yeah, but that's another thing, where Cusack had no problem looking...
goofy.
Ridiculous.
Right.
And there was she did the cool thing. She did the thing where she grabbed the pipe and did the awesome
kick
kick.
Him off,
He didn't do any cool thing. There was no cool thing happening as far as he was concerned.
No.
Although I did love De Niro's tie-up at the end where he was like, how many weapons proficient hookers do you bump into in the middle of the night, whatever it is?
Yeah.
He's like, maybe I met my wife at a fucking stable. That's one of the greatest lines.
Yeah,
I met my wife in a fucking state.
Who wants to, move to Kansas City and become a grade school teacher? Right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
That whole bit at the end was unbelievably cool.
Yeah,
and him talking about.
I was expecting it to bail out.
Yes.
Like totally, like it's going.
I was expecting to have a couple of good scenes.
There'll be something cheesy in the bag, or it's going to lose me. But it just got me more and more involved the longer it went.
The whole movie. Yep. I was so worried that it was going to bail.
Yeah.
And ruin itself. And every scene was that. The only scene that wasn't was the slight awkward dialogue about what curiosity did to the cat. That whole bit was a bit awful, but
yeah, it was. No, it didn't really, but
him saying about, well, stranger things have happened, I met my wife in a fucking Staples was just amazing.
Well, see that, I wonder.
And him going, do you think I could find a pen in this office?
It's the kind of thing that makes you wonder, maybe that's why they rewrote the original script. If their dialogue was the Staples staff and all the rest of that, and they decided to leave that scene alone, because although the dialogue was clunky in the car, it did its job, which was establish a connection between them that was above, I need you out of here because you're in the way.
Right,
and that's all there was her like, I've got a reason for staying in here, but the longer the night goes on, like the less reason I have to stay, and at some point you're going to have to get rid of it.
Also, she has no excuse, and she keeps just saying, I don't want to go home.
Right.
Which, if she was a real, down on the luck thing, and he was offering to take her to the bus and, come...
I love, by the way, I just want to say, just very quickly, when he takes her to the bus station, even though it's clearly 3 o'clock in the morning, the fact that at the bus station, which is a beautiful bus station, a beautiful old 50s bus station, they have, this little old wizened guy in the ticket window, and he's only in the distance, and you don't see him. It's like a painting. I mean, there's no reason for him to be there other than, what would be really nice is if it was a bus station where there's always a guy at the ticket window. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's the kind of bus station I want this to be.
Course, No, and I like the fact that there wasn't any big declaration between them.
No.
They only kissed at the end. There was no there was one bit where after the bus station, where he took her back to the hotel and he was like, we've got to be quick or something. I thought, oh no, they're going to have some horrible sex scene here.
Yeah, and the thing was, when they didn't, it didn't feel like, oh, something else now. It was back on with the story. You know what I mean? It wasn't oh, they've made a decision not to do the sex now. It was like, oh great, on with the story. But every decision it made.
I love the sheriff where he pulls the shovel out of the cupboard. He's like, what about this? And he says, I don't know, it was here when I got here, like that. He was like, yeah, you got a Gideon's Bible and a free shovel with every hotel room.
He was good. He was good.
He was really good. I liked
Prison Break. He had this great voice. And there was, even right from the beginning, there was something off about this guy. Because initially, your feeling is, oh no, it's the coppers, he better be like, he's obviously, unbelievably suspicious.
I love how Crispin Glover kind of, when the copper was reeling off all this stuff that he knew about Cusack, and Cusack kept looking at him, Glover was kind of proud to have snitched on him, but also kind of nervous about what might have happened. Like he was conveying both things really well.
Yeah, he was great. I mean, he did only have.
And it's insane how young he looks still.
Yeah.
Because you can tell, even under the wig and the mustache, that he had no lines on his face or anything.
He was so good. What was the last thing he was even in? I know he does lots of his own weird projects.
I think the last big thing he was in was a remake of Willard about the rats.
You lost me there.
He was in a movie called Willard, which is all about a guy who keeps rats. It's a weird, quirky, loner type role.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen it. It's just the
I'd
last.
love to know his backstory.
Do you know what he does? He travels around countries with. He has one of those Victorian traveling shows of medical oddities.
Wow.
And of early instruments that were used in the treatment of the eyes and ears and nose and really weird stuff. Yeah. He travels around with like Crispin Glover's cabinet of wonder kind of thing.
Jesus, that's awesome. Oh, I guess that would be about right.
Yeah.
He was so funny.
Yep. He was really good in it.
I was worried that he was going to be like off-puttingly quirky, but he was sort of warm and a bit sweet and weird but funny, and I don't know what was going on. Like, every time he wouldn't raise his head, you couldn't see him.
And it must have been...
And he kept popping up.
Suddenly realised as well. It must have been... Was it that motel where she was killed then? Because when him and Glover have that confrontation in the woods, he says, I remember what he did last time he was here.
I think that's more to do with...
Like, why the specific room?
I think it's all to build up... Like, I would say this. I think it's all to build up the sense of Cusack's aloneness in a world that he doesn't... Like, in this place that he doesn't understand. He doesn't know the rules. He doesn't know the layout, you know? And this whole, like, you want room 13. You know, like it's like cursed or supernatural or... You know what I mean? But
there was a whole... What was weird...
It just had this whole, like, everybody here knows something you don't.
The whole movie had an angel heart undertone.
Yes, it did, yeah.
That totally wasn't the case at all. It's just it was set up like that. Really, it was just this gangster... Like, what's hilarious is, it's this gangster who's killed his fiancée so that he can have his best man around. But in order to make sure that it was okay that he killed his fiancée and kept his best man around, he's going to test that guy to the sheer limits by bombarding him with this, like, cacophony of mad characters. That's just really cool.
Yeah, it's a crazy plan. But...
And he's going to make the thing that he has to do carrying around his fiancée's head.
Presumably. Because they all think there's something valuable in the bag. So he's lied to them. They say that he owns the town, that he's owned the town all around there for a long time. So there's also a feeling that whatever De Niro's planning, it's going to involve burning of bridges. And I'm wondering whether Crispin Glover saying, I remember what he did the last time he was down there, is like a reason for De Niro to have them all wiped out. Like either they get Cusack, in which case Cusack's no good to him, or Cusack gets them, in which case he's free and clear of whatever it is that they all remember.
Right.
You know? Because you would have to presume...
But the more I think about it, the more there isn't a hole in the plot.
No, agree.
Because at a certain point I was like, there's probably holes aplenty in this. I'm enjoying it, but there's probably holes aplenty in this.
Yeah. Oh, same thing.
But there isn't.
No.
Also, who on earth did they get to play the mad British attorney at the end?
I've got no idea. Such a weird choice.
Because he wasn't very good, but in the same time, he was really good.
Had the bow tie.
Like, what I mean was, he's clearly not a good actor, but he was perfect for that.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because it was so offbeat. It was so, like...
very strange.
What the hell? He didn't look normal. He had, like, mad curly hair and a weird...
mad curly hair, a bright red bow tie, a very strange, like, fruity English accent. I think the idea behind it, because again, I really like, because we can talk about this now. The reason I really like the ending is, if she wants to walk into that office and walk out of there with the $5 million, she has to do two things. One, she has to persuade this guy that she's crazy enough and mean enough to have done it.
Right.
Like, it's just, like, in a way that he doesn't even have to question, because why wouldn't she? You know? Like, why wouldn't she kill him for the money? You know?
Right.
But she also, in order for that to work, he has to be the sort of bloke that really doesn't want to get involved. And if he was like a slick black hair, you know, expensive suit, you know, mid-30s go-getting lawyer that you might expect, for him to go, yeah, that's okay, I don't need to know, at the end, you wouldn't buy it for a second. But when you think that this guy's probably thinking about where he's going to have lunch, do you know what I mean, and what play he's going to see that evening,
right.
Of course he doesn't want to drive out in the middle of nowhere to look at a head in a bag for a guy that's already dead anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? What do I care? She's obviously crazy. She's obviously done it. Take the money and go. And I'm going to think about, you know, what sandwich I'm going to order, you know. Yeah. Without that off-putting, fruity guy, I don't think that bit works. So that's that's a really clever feat of saying, well, this moment, I'm worried this moment won't work. That's what he said. Maybe that's why they worked off this original script. You take an original script, you think, it's really fun, there's lots of stuff going on there, but there's a bunch of it that I think if we put it on screen, which is what they didn't do in Grand Piano, I think when I put it on screen, it's not going to work. So how do I make this scene at the end? How do I make it work? Well, first of all,
hire
it's fruity,
hire
a mad fruity,
I didn't
overweight.
really get fruity from him. He was just kind of...
Well, not fruity, but I guess like if you're American, you probably think with the accent and the bow tie and the mad curly hair, you get like, I don't mean fruity like, you know, gay. I mean fruity like, just ever like slightly eccentric. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Enjoys a rich meal and a bit of a snooze. You know what I mean?
Right.
These are the exciting things in his life, I would imagine.
Well, even though he was... Yeah. Also, like, De Niro's dead. It doesn't matter. Give her the $5 million.
Yeah, precisely.
Shut up. You know
but you know, you have to play it very carefully for people to buy it. And I felt like the whole film was like that. Everything. If it was, this original script by James Russo or whatever, rewritten, it seems like they made a bunch of decisions of how to make what I'm guessing in the original form was quite a generic, albeit exciting script. How to make that, how to build that up into something that people would believe and be swept along with and enjoy.
Yeah.
Which I think they totally did.
I agree. No, because I kept thinking that while discussing it, we were going to go, oh yeah, that doesn't work.
You're right, but the more we do, the more I realise how much I liked it. Except for the scenes where we were uncomfortable, which we acknowledge had to be there. And in order for the ending to work, in order for you to buy Cusack's
well, in
character,
order for her to just not kill Cusack,
in order for them to earn their redemption, those scenes had to be in there.
Yeah.
But they were uncomfortable to watch. That would be my only thing.
No, I think they were mainly uncomfortable to watch because of the tonal shift. You went from a scene very, very quickly where she saw Cusack hanging up, which was funny. Like it was.
Well done. Thank you. Are you sure you're done with your fries?
No, I'm done with that. I'm full up.
Thanks very much. That was delicious.
Thanks. You go from a bit where, like, you see Cusack dangling up there, which is funny. The way it's framed, for the distance that it's filmed, it's meant to be a funny shot.
Right.
Or a darkly, like a black comedy type shot. Cutting to then what you cut to with her being abused in that horrible way over the table. That's what,
but again,
bothered me because of the tonal shift.
I agree, but on the other hand, thanks very much.
Thanks,
cheers, thank you. On the other hand, I would say that nothing actually happens. It's all implied. Everything that happens to her in the police, she doesn't actually get abused anyway. It's all implied. It's what
No. I just think that it comes at the end of her being smashed in the car and then tied up and then hit round the head.
It's very nasty.
It's kind of relentless, and then she gets thrown against the bar.
Yeah,
and
it's
you're
nasty,
like,
right?
Yeah,
but I'm saying it's all of it. At least sexual violence, anyway, is implied.
Oh yeah, completely.
Right. Although it got like close, I was like, oh, Jesus, it's not actually going to do anything, right? But again, I wonder if even the tonal shifts it's a big ask.
It's nice to go to the movies though and be shocked and have those feelings rather than go to a movie and be nonchalant about it. Like, for example, if this had been done like a Tarantino Grindhouse, you know, with the scratchy thing and the comedy sheriff and blah 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 blah.
Right.
That scene would have meant nothing. Like, it wouldn't have had any weight to it at all. It wouldn't have had any. You wouldn't have been invested in it at all. Right. If that had been Michael Parks and his buddy being stupid hick sheriff.
Right.
And you could see this quite easily being done as a Grindhouse movie. Very, very easily.
Yeah, agree.
It wouldn't take too many steps to you know. If you, for example, if you added like scratches to it and blah 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 blah, it would almost look like Death Proof, it had that look to it. So, you know, and it's in a swampy Louisiana town and in a rundown motel, and there's a comedy guy with a mullet behind the counter and the whole bit. Like, it screams all that, but it's so much more intelligent and so much better and so much. It's so elevated above that you actually buy into it and you actually go along with it.
Again, not to draw, because I feel like the more we talk about it, the more parallels we're drawing with what worked here didn't work in Grand Piano. I felt like they were in complete charge of the genre that they were.
Yes.
That they were giving us.
Yeah.
Not only were they in total charge of it, but that they knew how to make it live. They knew how to make it enjoyable and believable, and not just in the way that Tarantino and Rodriguez can occasionally do. Just this is something I saw that I thought was cool, and I'm not really invested in it. I just thought it was cool. This one feels like every decision, both in terms of tone and in terms of look and performance, was very deliberately done in order to make sure that the film had weight.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, had substance, medicine.
Yeah. No, I was surprised how much I cared about her by the time.
Agreed. I was so convinced she was going to start annoying the crap out of me in like 2
really
minutes.
Good.
Yeah, she was.
As an actor.
With like the face that she's got, which is just instantly not believable. She had like a not believable face.
She looks like she stepped down off a Times Square underwear model advert.
Right.
Like she, she's clearly. You saw her walking through the streets of New York at the end. She's clearly 6'2", 6'3". Like she's clearly like,
yeah, she was taller than Cusack. And Cusack's a tall guy.
Yeah, Cusack's 6'1".
Yeah, there we go.
So she's like Amazonian in the height that she's at.
And you're convinced this accent, this character, this is going to get tired in about 5 minutes. But what was cool is him not shooting her in the head, him not throwing her out, started to instead of being like throwing us out of the reality of the film, we started to go, why is he doing that?
Yeah.
What's going on here? Can she be trusted? Is he being fooled?
Yeah.
Like, instantly you're pulled into this like little crazy. It just becomes like a drama that you're interested in.
In fact,
questions that you're interested in.
The reveal at the end that she was involved all along would have bothered me.
Yes.
Really bothered
It did bother me.
Had she not then come downstairs and they were still in that awesomely beat up car.
Agreed, you're right.
And he drove off through New York
Again,
streets.
see, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's clearly the guy's going, again, I'm pushing this by saying she was involved all along, which they probably suspected, because I did sort of suspect that she was working with them all along, but not sure at all, because I wasn't sure about anything. But yeah, to have her walk away, for them, if they drive off in some like Lamborghini or whatever, I'd have gone like. But the fact that he was still like
leaning over.
He looks like he hasn't had any sleep. She still had the scar on her his forehead.
No, they'd probably gone to a hospital because she was shot in the gut. So she's probably.
Oh yeah. But he was still. They looked like they haven't. He looked like he hadn't slept.
Yeah.
Since they got in the car.
Yeah.
And yet the fact that it went off down the street, billowing clouds of smoke, was super fucking cool.
Yeah.
Super, super cool. You're right. The more we talk about it, the more I like it. The more I want to see it again.
Because it was like he drove. It was like he drove out of 1995 into 2013.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And you were like, that's... Because what's nice about it is the movie is not necessarily... Like, I would have hated if they were on some island at the end or had some big house. I more like the idea that they're just kind of bumming around the highways of America in this beat up car.
Right.
Thinking,
I do have one problem with the movie, which was
What's that?
Although I guess that would have been more 80s than 90s, to be fair.
What's that?
But I did hope that, given it was a raised camera over like a New York street scene with them kind of driving away, you really should have the credits come up. Like the cast come up over that scene of the New York street that keeps moving and keeps going, and somewhere there's, because what I like about it is somewhere they're still driving down the road, like they're still driving as the credits go. I would maybe have done that. That would have been my choice. I think.
I like the song though that they had over the thing.
We haven't even talked about
Nick Drake.
Oh, which movie? Nick fucking Drake song turns up.
Yeah.
I mean, cross-sections goes, oh, of course a Nick Drake song. I mean, wasn't it just after the burial scene and he just murdered somebody by putting a spade?
No, he got taken away by the sheriff in the car, and then because she's clearly jumped out the bathroom window.
That's right.
She was hiding in the bathroom in the thing, and you thought, he's for it now. And in fact, he was going for the gun in the ice bucket. But he went into the bathroom. She wasn't there, but she left her underwear, which I
think when she was going for the loo, I think.
Oh, okay.
I'm assuming.
Anyway, she climbed out the bathroom window. He gets taken away in the car. Then you see her feet coming round from the back of the motel and that's when the Nick Drake song kicked in.
Very strange. It was very cool because it was, again, a weird tonal shift. But again, it was so odd because normally when a Nick Drake song turns up, you think, no, Christ, we really need another Nick Drake song. Even though I love Nick Drake, don't get me wrong, but it's a bit obviously overused a movie. But to use one halfway through like a weird, grimy
film noir
crime thriller, again, was like in my opinion, if I'd been like a critic or whatever, I would have gone, what? But I think, again, it was a deliberate choice to soften their characters and make you root for them a little bit, which maybe you hadn't been up to that point.
I also think it was a welcome break in the action.
Yes.
That let you get your head together and then move on.
That's true. Yeah, it was. You're right.
Because then the next scene you see is this kind of violent scene
you're right.
in the sheriff's thing, and then it's all going again.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, agreed.
So it was a nice way to kind of go, okay, this is the middle point, this is the intermission almost.
Yeah.
And then we'll move on, you know?
Yeah, no, you're right. It was just really well judged all the way through. It totally had me hooked. I really enjoyed it. I'd love to see it again. I'm sure it'll be coming to Netflix soon. I'd be surprised if it isn't, but it's such a shame. It's such a shame because this is like it's one of those movies that I could sit if this was like 20 years ago, would like live in Star Video, and I can see us watching it a couple of times. Like, you know, when you go to Star Video, you can't find a movie, and you go, let's just get Bagman again.
Yeah.
And I can see it living there for like, you know, just like that kind of comfortable video that used to be on the shelf.
Yeah.
You go, oh, I'm glad that's still there. You know, like Howling or whatever.
But they used to be made all the time. I mean, there was even, didn't Spacey make one? Well, I know he did Usual Suspects, but didn't he do that like albino alligator or whatever that one was called?
No, I did see that.
That was set in a speakeasy where none of them were very memorable particularly. I mean, Things to Do with Denver, when the day gets kind of a nod because it's got this kind of eccentric cast, but even that wasn't particularly gripping in terms of...
I don't know, no, but I liked that. I liked that the whole premise of the movie was the opposite of the trailer.
Right.
The trailers, they're going to do the one thing that nobody expected, fight back. I think you'll find the entire point of the movie is that they don't. And that's what I like. They get threatened with death, and they spend the rest of the movie walking around sorting their affairs out. That's it.
Yeah.
I really like Things to Do with Denver. It's one of those films like, this is totally not what I expected, and it's really good.
Yeah. But no, I'm just saying, like, there was all those movies that came out, and it's just nice that, like, if you need to get like 5 Cusack Netflix movies, so that every sixth one is like this, I'll live with that.
I still like of Cusack Netflix. I still like the Numbers Station. I thought that was good. I know you weren't such a big fan, but I liked it.
It wasn't anywhere near as good as this, though.
No, not at all. But I enjoyed it. It was
an interesting idea.
I liked it. But I didn't like the serial killing one. I don't think I'm going to like the one with Nick Cage. Wasn't that fond of Grand Piano. I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen a Cusack film that I genuinely really enjoyed. And I really enjoyed the shit out of this one.
It's the closest he's come to regaining his sense of humour, almost.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. It was really good. I'm really glad we went and saw that one. It was really terrific.
How is it that we live in a world where Grand Piano gets fucking Lincoln Center honors and reviews up the wazoo about how, isn't it marvelous, blah, and it's nonsense. I mean, just because it's set in the world of piano concertos doesn't make it as artistically viable as it can.
People are all about the silly fucking knowing irony, like it's Sharknado and all that bollocks. If it's got a bunch of silly knowing irony where people can watch it and be
For example, I
it.
recently, because it was on Netflix, and I like those silly movies sometimes, I watched a movie called Blast Vegas, right, which is about like this Egyptian...
I saw you like that, yeah.
Egyptian god is unleashed in Las Vegas and like causes a big dust storm basically and whatever. And you know, it's far from perfect. But in terms of that versus Sharknado, it's miles ahead of Sharknado. It's just Sharknado had sharks and Tara Reid in it.
No.
But there was only like 3 good bits in Sharknado, whereas about 75... If I tell you that Blast Vegas starts off with John Landis and Joe Dante as a couple of like career criminals who try and hold up the van that's taking this Egyptian relic to Vegas while squabbling over their beat-up car. Right there.
Yeah, right.
That's the opening of your movie.
Wow, I really want to see this now.
Yeah. Now, and then one of the leads of your movie is Barry Bostwick from Rocky Horror Picture Show and Spin City and Megaforce and a whole bunch of other mad movies. He was in that FDR...
Right.
Whatever it was. Badass. FDR Badass, right. Him as this mad-haired, goatee beard wearing atrocious Vegas lounge singer, which every other line he has is a gambling pun throughout the whole movie. So, like, when someone dies, he's like... And because Barry Bostwick knows it's like a shitty line, like a crappy line, he delivers it in a kind of offhand, let's get out of the scene and move to the next one type way. So like someone will die and he'll go like, well, I guess he cashed in his chips, and then he'll like move on because he knows that the line's terrible, right? But it was so worth it. Like it just made the whole movie. Rather than FDR where it was all like, some bits where you were like, okay, it's kind of funny to see the guy in the wheelchair referring to pussy and hoes and guns and gangster rap and whatever. While that has its passable joys momentarily, this was far more, what if we had a mad lounge singer as one of the leads of our
I have to say,
Vegas
you're selling
disaster
it to me.
movie.
You're definitely selling it to me. And this is on Netflix.
Yeah.
Well, I might have to give that
Now that compared to Sharknado, which was just I like Shark, you know, I mean it was all nonsense, but like, you know, and like Las Vegas did a nice little thing where it's the 2 nerds that are the winners at the end. Like, no, don't expect anything amazing, but I'm just saying that that compared to the common consensus.
This is what I'm saying. If there's one thing about Netflix that Netflix teaches you is that it's awfully easy to make a shitty movie.
Yeah.
It's awfully easy. What's worse is it's awfully easy to make a shitty movie and think you're really brilliant.
Yeah. But this is where it comes down to the fact that I dislike, and I think will always dislike, either movies made with knowing irony or watching movies with knowing irony.
Agreed.
I can't stand it.
You know.
Now, Blast Vegas is a B-movie, disaster movie with all the sci-fi, because it's a sci-fi movie, with all the sci-fi movie tropes. You know, you have to have a bunch of people running around in bikinis and blah, 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 right? All those tropes, admittedly, and you kind of have to go, ugh, okay, fine, I wish it wasn't in the movie, but they had to sell their ad space on sci-fi or whatever, so fine. The most knowing it gets is casting Joe Dante, John Landis, and Barry Bostwick. Apart from that, though, it's a good old-fashioned B movie.
Okay, then I'm
rather than going, sharks, tornado. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, no, good, because there's a lot of shitty movies on that. There's a lot of the worst ones as well tend to be ones that think they're really clever.
Yeah.
And I preferred someone that...
You're probably not going to like Las Vegas now, but I would still... I thought it was charming. I thought it was charming. I actually sat through the whole thing.
If it's honest and it's having a blast, and if the people who enjoyed what we're doing, then I'm all for it.
Yeah.
You know, but people who...
Because I thought Bostwick was going to show up and then leave, and he hangs around for most of the movie, being hilarious. He's meant to be... like that guy Wayne Newton. He's meant to be like that kind of guy.
Right.
Only they've kind of given him ridiculously, because he's got white hair, but they've given him like this ridiculous mad haircut and this black goatee, and like the shirt open here and a medallion, but everything he says is a gambling pun. It's absolutely fantastic.
Okay, well, I'm going to check it out. So that's 2 recommendations for the Diner listeners. I had a wonderful time, as always. It was a great cinema. I loved coming into the diner out of the rain, and there being like a table full of policemen
and a
do you know what
fuzzing
I mean?
neon sign,
and a fuzzy neon sign, and it was just great. I mean, it was really trippy. I love that we had to go all the way to the top of the cinema again, go another escalator, you know, to get this tiny cinema with like no people in it.
But really good screen though.
Yeah, great screen. Really good screen. Great seating too.
Nice seats as well, comfortable seats.
Nice seats, comfy seats, perfect positioning, hardly anyone in the cinema. I was thinking, this is what New York is. Well, I was sitting there watching this, like enjoying the shit out of this movie, thinking, this is what New York's about. I mean, a half-empty cinema in the middle of Times Square, like in this tiny, forgotten, like little screen right at the top of the building, with like.
Do you know what?
Like a tramp down the front and crossing next to me, but mostly empty. Watch this terrific, crazy beat.
Shall I tell you what I like about what we've been doing recently?
Go on.
I, more than anyone, have accused the modern world of kind of like giving up on a few of the things that were kind of groovy about the past. And there's a lot of my love of America comes from the fact that they don't, to some extent. Like, London, to me, one of the problems I always have with London, and every time they shoot a new movie there and I see the skyline now, it's only becoming more of a problem. In terms of, like, London's trying to be this, like, city of the future with the modern glass buildings and the blah, 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 which is fine. It kind of has to do that to kind of keep up and stay relevant. And while there are a couple, like, there's that theme diner that's like the post-war just behind
Ed's Diner.
Piccadilly Circus. No, Ed's Diner is an American 50s thing. The old post-war theatre diner that's right round the back of Piccadilly Circus. We only went there once or twice.
Yeah, I remember.
And there's a couple of places like that, right? But mostly, it's, you know, you go to Leicester Square and it's El Conchita, Chiquita nonsense, Tex-Mex crap, or fucking
but that's
Bella
the centre
Papa.
of town, though. I take your point.
What I like is that in 2014, we have been able to have and continue to have experiences where we go to an amazing little B movie in Times Square, wander down the road to an awesome, like, 70s diner that's been here much longer. In 2004, like, that's awesome to me.
No, I agree.
That I'm able to have that experience.
I agree. Well, I'm honoured to have it with you, my friend.
And it's not like a purposely retro diner. It just is.
No, it just is what it is.
What it is.
It works, so they keep it.
It's not like that Liberty diner that was absolutely empty on the floor of the cinema where they're like, well, we're going to call it the Liberty diner and have it all shiny and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And have booths because that's what you... No, for tourists, no. Step away, walk 3 blocks.
Yeah.
3 blocks down the road.
Past at least 4 people who, if they had a knife, would kill you if they thought about it.
Yeah, or people dying,
Yeah.
or people going mad at the bus station.
Probably at least one person died within a 20-foot radius of our location.
Yes.
While we were walking through there.
Oh, at least, yeah. In fact, I saw...
Even if it was just like spiritually, you know, inside.
Well, I've spiritually died inside. All I'm saying is, it's very awesome that I've managed to... The nice thing about New York is you can bend it to your will rather than it bending you to it.
Agreed. I would go along with that.
There's a little pocket of it for everybody.
Yeah, I
If
agree
you
with
want
that.
your big, loud, multiple TV screen sports bar, you've got it. But if you want the Market Diner at 10 o'clock at night with orange booths and cheap coffee, you've got that as well.
Yeah,
and that's what I love. That's my...
Agreed. Well, thanks for bringing me along, man.
No worries, man. Thanks for bringing me along. Are you kidding? It's all good. So with that, let us say goodbye for another After Movie Diner episode.
Thanks very much for having me, man. Cheers.
It all worked out in the end. Sort of. Flew in on a plane of flamingo. Sort of. Waiting for his water wings to hit the ground. Trundled home in a limo. Porter. Rushing on the endless run from the quarter. Gods whose adventures never ever hang around. Yeah, but there's something in the rainy day smile, that girl of mine. Tiny lines on lips that read, everything's fine, more or less. And I guess right now anything's worth trying. Suppose they'll throw us in the ground or burn us. Nice to see so many turn up. The barbershop trio sang a lovely melody. I hope we're not awake when they turn on the furnace. I wonder what a diamond teeth will earn us. I suppose it's something else that we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, but there's something in a rainy day smile, that girl of mine. Tiny lines on lips that read, everything's fine, more or less. And I guess right now everything's worth trying.
Like the show? Well, you can find our complete podcast archive over at amdpodcast.blogspot.com or aftermoviediner.com. You can send us an email at aftermoviediner@gmail.com, tweet us at aftermoviediner, or follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/aftermoviediner. Or why not be a part of the show and leave us a voicemail over at speakpipe.com/aftermoviediner. You can also support the show a number of ways, by spreading the word to family, friends and co-workers, by writing us a review over at iTunes or TalkShoe, by purchasing some excellent diner merchandise over at cafepress.com/aftermoviediner, by donating on our website, by advertising with our website, or maybe you're a regular Amazon user. If so, then before you make a purchase, go to amdpodcast.blogspot.com, aftermoviediner.blogspot.com, or aftermoviediner.com and click through the Amazon banner ads. It costs you nothing extra, but they throw us a few coins for the trouble. Or, like the movies we cover, then buy them over at our personal Amazon store, also on amdpodcast.blogspot.com. Really, thanks everybody for everything you continue to do, and please keep listening.
There are men, and then there are second unit podcast men. The podcast you've just been listening to is part of the Second Unit Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at 2upn.blogspot.com or on Facebook under the Second Unit Podcast Network. Our fantastic list of shows include Drunk on VHS, We Came from the Basement, No Budget Nightmares, The After Movie Diner, Dr. Action and the Kick-Ass Kid, and Bloodbaths and Boomsticks. Take one podcast into the shower. Don't be a blithering idiot, Alan. We can give you the multiple podcast cleansing system all in one place that your hair deserves. Our programming is available across all platforms, from iTunes to Podomatic, TalkShoe to Stitcher, so you have absolutely no excuse. Listen today, and a free naked person of your choice will be shipped from Thailand to your door in a matter of weeks. The Second Unit Podcast Network, bringing you the action and leaving the boring stuff to the other guys. Bloody hell, who does a girl have to blow around here to get a decent beverage?